Einstein sums it up quite nicely because he says without bees, mankind would have about 4 years of life left. So my name is Mavatu Murudi and I'm the co-founder of the Village Market Africa. What makes a good quality product when it comes to honey? We look at things like the moisture content in the honey. We look at the flowers, so the forage where the bees actually source the nectar and the pollen from. And then I mentioned moisture content, but what then happens is that because honey in its nature will crystallize, what then happens is that producers would then have to heat this honey. So when you smoke, what then happens is that the bees thinks there's a fire and they're getting ready to flee. And how they do that is by drinking the honey that's inside the hive. They love being here, we love having them around. So it's perfect. So we get it, we extract it from the honeycomb exactly as is, and then we simply bottle it as is. And you'll notice that on the shelf, honey like that will crystallize much quicker as opposed to honey that has been excessively heated. But it's as natural as it comes because our focus is working in the remotest of villages whereby there isn't much commercial agriculture happening, meaning there's limited use of harmful insecticides and pesticides. So we go out into the deepest and remotest of villages that we could possibly find between South Africa and Mozambique and Zimbabwe to set up bees. We call them sanctuaries, bee sanctuaries, whereby bees are looked after by the communities and the communities can sustainably harvest the honey that we then package for the market. When we started in this industry back then, it was just about only 50 commercial beekeepers. So for me, that sparked an interest to say, okay, there's 50 commercial beekeepers and we've got vast natural resources. How do we enter the space? It was about 2.5 years into the business model when we then realized that it wasn't working and the business failed totally. It completely collapsed. And that was when we thought initially we could own all these hives that we were putting out into communities or living with subsistence farmers. And that didn't work. But then when we changed and reinvented it, we then said, these hives belong to the community members. They are the custodians. They need to look after them. It's their property, it's their business. And then what they get in return is money for the honey that they've produced. We'll provide them with the implements, we'll provide them with training, we'll even provide them with the market. All they need to do is just produce.
Ke nna Victoria Lukele, ke belegwe mo 1971 bona mo Winterveld. Bothata bo re bo bona mo plekeng ya rona ke rural area, dilo tse dintsi a re khone re go di kry-a go tshwana le mmereko. So nna ke thabile thata Austembi a re fa mmereko nyana gore ke khone go supporta ko gae. So o khone o change bophelo ba ka gore go be le bophelo bana ba robala ba jile ka lebaka la hae. Because more na le mmu, re na le diploto, tshokolo e ka se be teng as long as re berekisa matsogo a rena fela, everything di tlo ba right.
That was quite interesting because honestly I came across the application online, but it was a pleasant surprise to make the top 10. It was quite an experience, and I think from it is that I was more challenged than anything because I found other competitors that were doing amazing things. I had the most amazing mentor, Christoph, in that taking me through that process of breaking down that vision into smaller chunks that were manageable, and realizing that I need a team. I cannot do this thing on my own was the main thing that we discussed, both from the program and afterwards with the mentor, to say, yo, thank God Food Lovers Market has allowed us to bring in a substantial income into the business. Now we're saying, how do we duplicate our efforts back to the core, whereby we're saying environmental impact, whereby we're saying social impact, in order to be able to produce for them again. We can train any person in beekeeping, and that has challenged us to say, how are we innovative in that process of training communities? Well, when we started working in a village called Gazini in North KZN, the first harvest that they made, this was after about 5 months of work, the first harvest that they made was 4,500, worth 4,500, and they had to split that amount. I think we started in 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And they had to split the amount. The way that they were dancing and praying, you realize that they were grateful for this small amount, what we thought was a very small amount. But it revived the hope that there's something that we could do, and they persevered. Now they're close to your 100,000s that they get out of a harvest. Everything fit together because there is already a global shortage of good quality honey, meaning a market was guaranteed. There were communities with natural resources, with people that were willing to do work. It's not like we had it all figured out. Some of these things, you know, I say, God just has a way of putting you in a place, and then as you interact with people, somebody says, oh, so this is what you guys are doing. And you're like, no, but we're just looking after communities and bees. And then you only after, in hindsight, realize the magnitude of it and what you have done. Some of these communities, we started way back with them and making small strides. So now to get to this point whereby the product is on the shelves, it's big, it's big, it's big. Now I'm still in a cloud because I'm like, I'm waiting for the next order. If the next order comes in, then I know people like the product and then we're running with it. But it's really been a blessing. I think even everyone is just as excited. Yeah.